Noticed on the boat you finally went with the Glock.
Yeah. Glock 40, just like yours.
These things are so cool. They shoot underwater. You pour sand at them and they'll shoot. Shoot every time.
Who would have thought back in 1981 that Gaston Glock would become the household name he is today? I mean, this old geezer doesn't exactly look like he's about to drop the hottest polymer frame pistol in history. Okay, now he does. Yeah! But what's more unbelievable than Glock's sudden rise to fame is that Glock, as a company, would go on to sell the same exact gun, and only that gun, over and over and over again for the next 40 years. And the consumers would just keep coming back for more.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Being a fan of Glock is like being a fan of blue jeans. They're so unremarkable, common, and dependable that most normal people wouldn't think to slap a sticker on their truck to show how much they adored them. The Glock pistol is the pumpkin spice latte of the gun world, and it got that way by literally being basic. It strips down easier than your mom after 3 tequila shots. The controls are intuitive, and the individual parts are simple. You got your fling-flong, your doodad, tactical encabulator, and the dingus. The outward appearance is mundane at best, and butt ugly at worst. This bare-bones design philosophy is what makes the platform so attractive to armed citizens, military personnel, oath-breaking feds, wannabe gangsters, real gangsters, and even Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Between your faith and my Glock 9mm, I take my Glock.
But it wasn't always this way. Before Glock entered the picture, most handguns were of the low-capacity paperweight variety. Fun for the range, aesthetically pleasing, but increasingly ineffective against larger threats, like rifle fire from an M14, but more on that later. Innovations were being made little by little as the Cold War heated up. Browning and Beretta were making double-stack magazines, H&K implemented a polymer frame in the VP-70, and Steyr had set out to make the world's deadliest Nerf gun. So in late 1980, the Austrian government issued a 17-point list of requirements for a new service pistol. They wanted it to be striker-fired, chambered in 9mm, drop-safe, square, have a cool name, make a pew-pew noise, and would make your dick look bigger when you appendix carry. Many well-established manufacturers submitted their guns for testing, and while some of the firearms did make the Austrians' dicks look bigger, none of them could truly compete with the lowly Glock, a brand which was completely new to the gun industry. So how did Gaston Glock manage to harness all that BDE? Gaston began his career as a producer of consumer plastics like shower curtain rods, which may not seem like the type of product you'd expect from a future gun maker, but if you've ever seen the movie Drive, you know they can actually be quite deadly. From there, Glock forged deeper into the weapons industry by working with the Austrian Ministry of Defense to produce components for their combat knives and shovels. It was at this point that Glock gained access to the requirements for the new service pistol trial. So Glock put together a team of experts. They drew up the plans, built a prototype, and he submitted his 17th patent for a 17-round pistol, made to satisfy 17 requirements that he called the Glock 17.
Coincidence? The numbers, basically. What do they mean?
Glock fanboys will say it was the hand of God or some shit, I don't know. Anyway, the gun was a smash hit with the Austrians and entered service in 1982 as the Pistol 80, which translates to Pistol 80 in English. Glocks began to spread throughout Europe, and within a few years the gun started popping up in television and film. And while you could say that all exposure is good exposure, unless it involves elementary schoolers, 80s Hollywood did what it always does. It used gun violence to sell tickets while preaching gun control talking points, which is how we got this line in Die Hard 2.
That punk pulled a Glock 7 on me. You know what that is? It's a porcelain gun made in Germany. Doesn't show up on your airport x-ray machines here, and it costs more than you make in a month.
Hey everybody, come pay $10 to watch Bruce Willis shoot people for 90 minutes, but stay away from those scary plastic guns. And the ones that aren't plastic, go ahead and turn those into the ATF too while you're at it.
Hollywood and the government really wanted Americans to believe that Glocks could pass through x-ray machines undetected, and that they'd give you AIDS. These mind tricks might have worked on some, but police departments knew better, and they were ready to ditch their outdated sidearms for some fancy new plastic pistols.
I bet you folks don't have one of these.
Especially in the wake of the Miami-Dade shootout in 1986. For those unfamiliar with this event, go watch someone else's video on it, because I sure as hell won't do it justice. But what I will give you is a brief summary. While attempting to surveil 2 murderous bank robbers, a handful of FBI agents found themselves outgunned by an M14. I told you I'd get back to that. When the smoke cleared, 2 agents were dead, 5 were injured, and the bank robbers were DOA. The FBI's reaction was as follows.
Damn, that was unfortunate.
Followed by,
we need bigger guns and bigger ammo that will destroy the limp wrists of our female agents.
So the Chad 10mm cartridge was adopted, then quickly scrapped in favor of the Virgin 40 Smith & Wesson. But just when the old S&W thought they'd be able to hold on to their decades-long monopoly on police service pistols, somebody swooped in and built a handgun chambered for that very same cartridge. And can you guess who that was?
His name is
Gaston Glock.
And in the ultimate bitch slap, the FBI adopted the Glock 22 and 23 in 1997, leaving Smith & Wesson to go home and cry to their mama. After that, Glock took over the civilian market, and the polymer revolution was in full effect. Everybody wanted a piece of the action. Clone after clone flooded the market, each one being branded
the Glock Killer
in clickbait articles. But no such weapon ever deposed the reigning champion, and that's because of a few reasons. Many clones suffered from malfunctions early on due to poor quality control. Glock already had the name recognition and the fame. The clones weren't as modular, with fewer aftermarket parts. Americans are racist against Turkish guns, and Glock's quality and reliability could simply not be matched. This brings us to our current state. So far, Glock has released 31 separate models, many of which have been redesigned to fit successive generations. For example, the G17 has been featured in 5 generations. Just look at all these things. And I thought Treyarch selling us Nuketown 8 times was bad.
Got him!
All of this has been done in the name of Glock perfection, a phrase which fanboys cling to when literally any other gun is mentioned, as if a gun that looks like this can be perfect.
I prefer the real Glock.
I said the real
Glock.
I said the real
Glock.
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 Perfection.
Looks aside, even the functionality of the gun isn't nearly perfect, especially for the price. These days, $600 will buy you a bare-bones stock Glock and a few mags. No frills, no swag, no underbarrel assault smirk. Further upgrades could cost $100 or more. Or you can go buy a PSA dagger, a shameless Gen 3 Glock 19 ripoff, with night sights, a threaded barrel, carry cuts, and, in my opinion, better grip design and texture, for around $400. Why hasn't Glock made models like that for a similar price? I guess their idea of perfection is sticking to the same boring recipe for half a century. Oh, but don't let the Glock supremacists hear you say that, or it'll be,
No, Glock is the best gun in every way. Of course I've never shot any other kinds of pistols. Why would I? My wife's boyfriend even got me a Zev Technologies Gucci Glock so I can cosplay as John Wick.
To the Glock sucker community, it doesn't matter that they've never made a subgun or a carbine. It doesn't matter that it took them 40 years to make a 22. It doesn't matter that the 45 GAP round was created specifically for Glock, then rendered obsolete when Glock redesigned its 45 ACPs, and it doesn't matter that the only big risk the company ever took was building the first Glock 17, 42 years ago. What matters more is the sense of belonging and community that Glock brings. Sometimes wearing 5'11" pants with surplus combat boots and standing right next to other men at the gun show urinal just isn't enough. In times like those, you need that extra bit of flair to let the world know which group you're proud to be a part of. So maybe it's not really about the guns at all. Maybe the real Glocks were the friends we made along the way. Or something.
You're just a hater who probably shoots 1911s or XDs.
I actually carry the most perfect of perfect Glocks, the Gen 4 Glock 19. It really does take one to know one.